So the iPhone 7 Plus launched on September 16, 2016, and this phone is proof why you should consider buying Apple Kit as your next device. Okay guys, so what we're going to begin with here is Apple's conservative approach to design. So as you can see, this phone clearly is not the most modern device. With the thicker bezels on top and bottom, iPhone 7 Plus clearly is a dated design by Apple standards. But if you take a look at the iPhone SE from 2020 and you compare it to the likes of the 7 Plus, you can see 4 years later, they still have iPads in the lineup that are giving you that home button right there. And overall, you can tell that the device just kind of held on over time. If you take a look at some Android competitors from 2016 around this era, they nowhere near kind of compete in terms of looking at least decent in 2020. This at least looks pretty decent, and I think it's a reason why you might want to consider Apple if you're going for the long term with smartphones. So the next point I want to stress is the display. Now, this is only a 1080p display, but I say only as if that's a bad thing, but really it's not. The iPhone 7 Plus's display has 401 ppi, and if you take a look at some of the mid-range Android competition here in 2020, this phone still has a better display than a lot of those. This actually gets quite bright as well, 625 nits, so you don't have an issue there. Of course, 3D Touch went away, but this still has very fast 3D Touch. Not really trying to tell you that this display is absolutely amazing or anything like that. There are far better displays, but it's proof that Apple puts a display that's built to last here. So same with the newer iPhones with OLED, those displays are also getting ridiculous bright, built to last many years. So this is just another reason why I'm saying great phones for the long term. Okay, so the next thing is the Touch ID fingerprint sensor. Now, this Touch ID fingerprint sensor, while it's not outdated due to the iPads having it, the SE 2020, definitely not quite as nice as Face ID, although there's no Face ID here. Again, Apple was kind of ahead of the curve there with that Touch ID scanner. Really was one of the first to give you fingerprint scanners, Apple was. So the 7 Plus still has a very good, fingerprint sensor here, and overall, I gotta say, it's another reason why this phone was able to last so long. I mean, you can still buy an iPad mini right now with this fingerprint sensor on it. You can buy an SE 2020 with this fingerprint sensor on it. So again, while it's not Face ID, it was definitely built to last. Put biometric security that just is not going to fail you anytime soon. It's pretty much 100% accurate all the time, and it's very fast as well. Now next up with the iPhone 7 Plus is the software. So the software on here is iOS 13.7 as of the recording of this video. And the iPhone 7 Plus will be getting iOS 14. So you can see the software updates are clearly still here for this product. Now, I will state one thing about the iPhone 7 Plus. Of course, you're not going to get the same camera features that you get from the newer iPhones. You don't really have the same abilities in camera to change right here or do the 16:9. So the camera abilities are not quite the same within the software for the iPhone 7 Plus. But overall, you're still getting that modern iOS feel, although you still got to swipe up from the bottom. Again, software support. 7 Plus is another reason why. It's just proof why you might want to choose iPhone as your next device. Oh, and let us not forget about performance. We've done so many of these performance tests for the 7 Plus, and even now, the 7 Plus still just very fast phone. Now, again, when you're playing games and stuff like this, you can see a little bit of performance bump on the newer phones. Again, when also doing video rendering, like if you're in iMovie and stuff like that, it does take a little bit longer to go ahead and edit out a video, render it out, stuff like that. But it's surprisingly still smooth, which just goes to show how quick the iPhone 7 Plus performance can be. So overall, that A10 Fusion, you still see it in the current iPad, although that's going to be upgraded very shortly here. The iPhone 7 Plus is just pretty fantastic overall, I would say, in performance. It's a 3 gigs of RAM, but that's not a big problem here considering that 3 gigs of RAM is even on the iPhone SE. So really, performance, strong reason to consider iPhones optimized for both hardware and software. This phone is proof 4 years later running the way it does. It's just ridiculous, how long this has lasted in terms of performance, software, stuff like that. One of the final things I want to talk about is those dual 12 megapixel cameras. So you can see the iPhone 7 Plus, while these are not wide angle, they're not super amazing. these cameras are still usable. I mean, 4 years later, they're actually more than usable. Most people actually wouldn't even be able to notice what camera you're using if you shot video with this or photo, especially in good light. You also have portrait mode, but you're going to notice that there's no night mode here for the iPhone 7 Plus. So if you are looking for a little bit more from the camera, that's an area where, the phones keep getting better and better and better. But the front-facing camera here, you can see, what's up, guys? 7 megapixels does pretty well overall. So I would say that the front-facing camera for this phone, just really excellent overall with the iPhone 7 Plus. Still, again, cameras on both front and rear have improved drastically. However, they were still built to last, and I wouldn't have no issues recommending using something like this in 2020. And finally, guys, I want to talk about the battery life with the iPhone 7 Plus. 2900 milliamp hour battery on board here. So this phone right here, definitely not giving you the biggest battery life. And, some of these software updates haven't helped it too much to be the best on the market. But this phone definitely can stretch a day if you're doing medium to heavy use. Not too heavy use, but I get through a day pretty well with the iPhone 7 Plus. As long as I'm not gaming all day, not using the camera constantly, I get around 4 to 5 hours screen time. When I first got the phone, I was getting more like 7 hours, 6 to 7 hours of screen time, but it has decreased over the years. However, still, an acceptable battery that definitely lasted. Now, you can also just replace the battery if yours is like really trash right now. You can just go get it replaced. But this is just proof that iPhones were built to last, and maybe a reason why you might want to consider Apple as your next device. Other than that, guys, you have multiple colors that come with this phone. Many iPhones really change the color. We might even see a dark blue on the next iPhone 12 series, which I will be covering on the channel. But it has pretty good overall stereo sound that came to this phone as a first. It did remove the headphone jack, and most people have AirPods now. So you can see that it wasn't really the biggest deal at the end of the day. But the iPhone 7 Plus is proof of why you should buy Apple. This device, going on 4 years in just a week, man, did this phone really just last? I paid like $999 for this phone, somewhere around there. This is the 128 gig, which was a bigger storage capacity at the time. It's just proof that these phones just last. So let me know your thoughts on your next phone. Are you going with Apple this year? Are you already with Apple? Or do you still have a 7 Plus? Do you still have an older iPhone? Do you agree with my points here? Let me know down below. And if you found this video helpful, entertaining, informing, and if you like the outdoors, nature's videos, let me know down below in the comment section of this video. Nick here, helping you to master your technology. Be sure to be well, and peace.